And last year, we created the Commission for Agricultural Education Excellence, something that I think is very important, and it's got concurrent authority with your department and also with the Department of Education.
Right.
And requiring both state agencies to have staff or identify staff to work on this this commission. And I know that $250,000 was earmarked in the 2017-18 budget for this purpose. Have you and Secretary Rivera identified the employees in your departments that will serve on this commission and staff this commission?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces. First of all, I mean, thank you for the support on the Ag Education, and you know some of the history here of having the Ag Education Advisory Committee, and that became the model for the basis of the work, but really modeled after what we did with the State Conservation Commission when you had a rotating chair of, in that case, DEP and Ag, this case, Education and Ag. It's the right model, it's the right structure. We have, between the Secretary of Education, many conversations about it. We have identified, at least on paper, the positions that would fit into what was prescribed in the school code, and we have identified, you know, within our own respective departments, the what positions, because there are positions required that there wasn't an existing vacancy for. We had to create one. So, like in our case,
is there an executive director?
Yes. Yeah. So the department is you know, taking a vacancy out of the vacancy pool. So it means an inspector or something won't be filled to create the position of executive director of the Ag Education Commission. Now we're working our way through that with the justification for it. The other piece is on the Ag Commission and the appointments, and we're waiting on names, I think, to come over to the departments on that.
And what about funding? Is that included in your GGO line, or where do you propose funding for the commission, your portion of the funding?
Yeah, so an open question at this point. You know, the 250 that was earmarked was 250 sort of already committed to other issues, right? And that's before we had a spotted lanternfly and such. So, I think, you know, from the department standpoint, we are committed to it. I'll just reassure you of that, right? We have one of the positions in our workforce development, Dr. Scott Shealy, who's part of the mix, and there's another new position that we're committed to, and still working our way through, Mike. I mean, you know, the justification to get that done. How that you know, presents itself in terms of a separate line item within the department, or do that in part of GGO, I'm not, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure.
Also, the governor had proposed $50 million for career and tech ed.
Yes.
And that sort of flows along with this, although this is an agriculture component, but they flow together. Would any of that $50 million, to your knowledge, be, should that be approved, be used for this purpose?
Yeah, that's not the way it's designed, but that's a great point, because that is exactly what we're trying to achieve with the investments in career tech ed. So, you know, the ag science programs and FFAs around the state, that is exactly what we're trying to achieve with the part of the $50 million plus the apprenticeships and industry partnerships. But hadn't thought about that as a potential piece of the ag education. It's a great idea. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Pachynski.